Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about the law of sines. And you use the law of sines when you are trying to find a part of a triangle, but you don't have a right triangle. But you know, we could take any triangle and divide it and make it into a right triangle, and therefore they've come up with this law of sines. So looking at your problem 1, it says towers A, B, and C are located in a national forest. From Tower B, the angles between towers A and C is 53.3 degrees. From Tower C, the angles between A and B is 46.7. The distance between towers A and B is 4,084 meters. There's a lake between towers A and C that makes it difficult to measure the distance directly. What is the distance between A and C? So we want to find out this distance. So let's start. The best thing to do to start with is to find your third angle, if you can. Well, and of course, we can this time. Add up these two. So if we did 53.3 plus 46.7, we get 100. 180 minus 100 leaves you with 80 degrees. Got the calculator. Okay, so now that you know all your angles, let's talk for a minute before we go on about what the law of sines is. So the law of sines, it's mathematically proven that if you take the sine of one angle, you can put it over the side across from it. And keep in mind that angles are denoted with capital letters and the sides across are denoted with lowercase letters. So if we take the sine of one angle and divide it by the side across from it and set it equal to the sine of another angle divided by the side across from it, and we can do an extended proportion to set it equal to the sine of the third angle divided by its side across from it, you can solve any of these proportions to get the missing side. You, of course, would only do one at a time. So you could pick that one, or even eliminate that and do those two, because they're all considered to be equal. So let's look at this top one and solve for our missing side. So let's go ahead and set this up. We know the sine of A, 80. So we would say the sine of 80 over, this would be side A right here. I'm going to erase all this. Okay. Over side A, because we don't know the length of side A. Then the sine of B is 53.3 over B. And that's what we're looking for, is side B, the side across from the angle. Then we know the sine of C is equal to sine of 46.7 over, and we do know the length of this. In order to solve a problem using the sign of cosines, or law of sines, excuse me, you need to have at least one of one side and two of another. So in this case, we have two tops and one bottom. So to solve this one, we're going to use this proportion, or this ratio, and this ratio. So now we're just going to solve our proportion. We're going to cross multiply. Alright, so we're going to get B times the sine of 46.7 equals 4,084 times the sine of 53.3. So, just like we've been doing, make sure your calculator is in degrees. So go ahead and do 40,084 times the sine of 53.3, and you get 32,074.45. Okay, but I'm still not done because I'm looking for B. So to isolate that B, I'm going to divide both sides by the sine of 46.7. Okay, so if I take that and I do divide it by that side B, or this distance between A and C, where the lake is 2383.01. And I assume we're working in feet. No, meters. Meters. All right, so again, to use the law of sines, we take the sine of the angle and divide it by the side across from it, and we set it equal to each of those for each angle, so we have an extended proportion. And then when we go to solve, we only use two parts, and we just solve by cross multiplying and dividing. So let's look at another one. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 in your notes just says, find all the missing sides and angles. So, got a lot of work to do on this one. So, for the law of sines, you fill in what you know, and then you pick a proportion. So, here's what we know. We know all three angles this time. We only knew side C. So, we're going to start by finding side B. We have to find B and A, but we'll go ahead and find side B first. So, we're going to cross multiply. We'll get B times the sine of 72.6 equals 18 times the sine of 54.9. And to get that, we do 18 times the sine of 54.9. Right now we're going to have B sine of 72.6 equals 14.72. And now if we divide both sides, we find out that B doesn't. So we find out that B equals 15.43. So now we have to find A. So we can either take this ratio from A and compare it with this one, or we can do it with this one. I'm going to go ahead and do it with this one. So I'm going to say that I have the sine of 52.5 over A. I'm going to write it over here so I have more space. Over 18. So again, I'll have 18 sine of 52.5 equals A sine of 72.6. Now, so now what I want to do is solve this side and divide by 72.6. So 18 sine of 52.5 divided by the sine of 72.6, we find out that A equals 14.96. So now we know our three side lengths, and that is how you use the law of sines.